One of the biggest things I realized is that, there's no such thing as internet marketing. There's marketing.
And then there's the internet.
I went really deep in P.T. Barnum's life. These dudes from the 1800s probably understood marketing more than we do because they had much less distribution. There's so much distribution, and it's so easy to reach people at volume that the marketing skill, I think, kind of went down.
Yes.
If you can nail the hook, the funnel's easy. What most entrepreneurs do when they get in the marketing seat is they make the hook be about their offer. It's too early to talk about your offer. It's too early to talk about your origin story. What the story is about is the customer. When you can describe the customer's problem better than they can themselves, it is immediately assumed that you have the best solution.
You're watching Marketing Misfits with Norm Farrar and Kevin King.
Senor Farrar, how are you doing, man? Good to see you again. It's been a minute.
Yeah, and I love it when you talk Italian to me.
I'm trying. So it's better than my French. I mean, if
all right.
I tried my French accent. I leave that to Mark Don. I leave him when he gets drunk. That's his thing. So I don't want to step on anybody's trademark or anything.
But with Mark, it's just like a single language. It's not like this.
Exactly. Man, I tell you what. I'm excited about today's guest. We've had his wife. On the show before she was his wife, actually.
Yes.
Right before she was his wife, because they did a badass wedding thing where they turned it into like a little mastermind and stuff. And I've seen this guy speak a couple times. I saw him speak at the Internet Marketing Party in Austin, and I saw him speak at Go High Level, his event called Level Up. And he's got some interesting takes and a cool background. I think this is going to be, for you misfits out there, that includes you too, Norm, this is going to be a good episode, I think.
Yeah, well, it's always a good episode. But, one of the things that I think you didn't put enough emphasis on is the wedding. So the wedding made national news. I saw it up here in Canada. So this was...
It was on Fox News?
Yeah, it was on NBC, whatever. But it was fantastic. Like when I first heard about it, I didn't know that you knew the couple. And I'm sitting there talking to you saying, this is crazy. Why didn't somebody think about the wedding? And I won't get into it right now, but we'll get into it. One of the rabbit holes we'll go down.
Yeah, that's definitely a misfit. If there's ever a misfit that's thinking outside the box, and that's exactly what we want here on the show. So you want to get into it?
Absolutely. So I'll bring on our guest right now, Steve Larson. Mr. Larson, where are you? Oh, you got to hit the button.
What's up?
What's up, man? How you doing? Good.
Good. I'm so excited to be here.
Now, I got to ask you right off the bat, your shirt, every time I see you, this is your branding. Steve Jobs had his little T-shirts, and you're always in the capitalist pig shirt. Every time I've seen you, explain that for people that might not understand. What's the importance of that to you?
Yeah, it was back in 2018. I started noticing that companies where the founder is the brand, those businesses can take off quickly, but very, very quickly also can be hindered by the fact that the attractive character is the business. And so I was like, I need to develop a brand that is not me, that is strong, and can be something where people say, I'm that also, rather than I'm also Steve Larson, because that's impossible. We're all individuals. And so I was like, I need to come up with a brand that really rocks the boat. And it was actually from the book. You guys know the book Animal Farm?
Yeah,
right. He talks about the different economic systems using a farm as an analogy. And the sheep were the socialists because they all moved together and didn't think for themselves. And the pigs were the capitalists because they are individuals, very individualistic and problem solvers. And so it's so funny, man. The first time someone called me a capitalist pig, I thought that they were giving me a compliment. And I didn't realize until later, I was like, I think that guy was trying to be a jerk, and so I was like, I'm going to put that on my shirt. Like, yeah, I'm a capitalist pig. Capitalism is not the problem. It's the user, So, it's our brand. And we sold tons of these things. And I actually got to give one of these to RFK a few months ago.
Oh, wow.
And I wrote out this pledge, and it's 5 points of capitalism. And I said, sir, I'm only allowed to give you this shirt if you agree to these 5 points, and it's basically don't be an idiot is kind of what, use these powers for good is kind of what it is. And he's like, I'll treasure this forever, and so I've been going around and challenging different leaders to practice the good kind of capitalism. So we keep it cool in America because, it's kind of under attack. So that's why I wear it.
What are the 5 points?
Yeah, it's funny. You're going to put me on the spot right now. Let me pull them up.
You can make it up.
Got them. No. Let me pull it up right now. I did have it memorized, but let me pull it up here.
That's cool that you did that, though.
Yeah, it was a lot of research, and went deep into, Adam Smith and really the genesis of capitalism. Because I get people a lot of times that say, like, we should just throw capitalism out and do the trade system. And I was like, just think about that for like 3 seconds and you realize it's dumb. Because if I need tires and you're hungry, but I have food and you don't know how to fix a tire, we already can't trade. It's like money is necessary as a medium value. And so it's like,
well, there's the barter system. I don't know if you have that in the States, but in Canada, you can set up this barter network, right? And you could just trade things for points, and it's a little bit weird. But this is
still the medium, right? Like you still
right.
Points is
But it's kind of weird the way things are going right now. And this has happened for years. But why is capitalism such a taboo word?
I think it's literally because people just don't know what it is, and they associate it with, I believe, what Hollywood has indoctrinated us with personally. I'm not trying to throw rocks, but it's just the reality. The school system doesn't teach entrepreneurship. It teaches employee mindset. And so I believe the system is designed to make us be workers in someone else's kingdom. And so, why not demonize? I mean, literally every bad guy in all the Hollywood,
every movie,
is some rich dude, and it's like every movie.
Yeah.
So the 5 points of capitalism, I call it the capitalist pledge, and it's 5 points. Point number 1 is to follow the law of self-interest, but you use it to fulfill the needs of others in exchange for personal value. So solving problems for profit is one of our mottos. The second tenet is that we champion innovation. Competition and creativity are fuel for valuable solutions. So capitalism is just about problem solving. Number 3 is we uphold ethical responsibility, and that empathy and virtue guide the moral behavior of the individual. We can't give morals and ethics and our own compass to the government. It does come down to the individual. And I think the problem with capitalism is when we start to outsource what is legal versus what is right. And so it comes down to the individual's own personal code of ethics. Number 4 is to support sustainable growth. We balance expansion with the prudent use of resources. And then number 5 is to maintain the wealth. So once you get rich, don't be an idiot, right? Actively get rich, and then you actively look for ways to give back using wealth as a force for good. And so I tell them, if you agree to this, put the shirt on, take a picture with it, post it, and claim it. And that's the pledge.
Hey, Norm, you'll love this, man. I talked to a seller the other day doing $50K a month. But when I asked them what their actual profit was, they just kind of stared at me.
Are you serious? That's kind of like driving blindfolded.
Exactly, man. I told them, you got to check out Sellerboard, this cool profit tool that's built just for Amazon sellers. It tracks everything like fees, PPC, refunds, promos, even changing COGS during using FIFO.
Aha, but does it do FBM shipping costs too?
Sure does. That way you can keep your quarter 4 chaos totally under control and know your numbers, because not only does it do that, but it makes your PPC bids, it forecasts inventory, it sends review requests, and even helps you get reimbursements from Amazon.
Now that's like having a CFO in your back pocket.
You know what? It's just $15 a month. But you got to go to sellerboard.com/misfits, sellerboard.com/misfits. And if you do that, they'll even throw in a free 2-month trial.
So you want me to say, go to sellerboard.com/misfits and get your numbers straight before your accountant loses it?
Exactly.
All right.
Why do you think the U.S. is the number one capitalist society in the world. What do you think that's made that, where this is the land of, opportunity, and a lot of people from like Latin America think you can just come here and just pick up dollar bills off the sidewalk as you're walking down the sidewalk. But if you're willing to work and put it in here, you can make it here. But you compare that to Europe, a whole different culture and a whole different mindset on entrepreneurs, or other places in the world. What do you think as part of this capitalism that actually creates that and fosters that here?
I think that there's laws that protect the ability to innovate. Like you're a little more free to fail, which also means you're more free to succeed. And that's part of what, if you want to take over anyone's beliefs, just change the stories they consume. Story is what upholds belief. You take anyone who stops, like a religious person, they stop reading scripture, their belief starts to fall. The stories got removed. It's the same thing that's happening in America. Is what we're seeing, and I think everyone's seeing, is that the narratives and the stories being pushed are very anti-innovation, very anti go think for yourself, and very pro just pay me universal income, very pro let's just make the government larger. I'm not anti the government at all, but it's still a for the people thing. And when that gets flipped, that's the issue.
In Canada, I live up in Ontario. It's kind of scary, like to become a business person or to become a entrepreneur. All odds are against you, at least here in Canada. You've got all the risk, more so than what you have in the States. You fail a lot harder, like you'll fall hard. And there's no empathy. It's just, you're just another business guy who failed, went bankrupt. Like, I forget what the bankruptcy rate was a few years ago, but it was crazy hearing that over 5 years, 90% of businesses fail. It's nuts.
Well, it's similar in the States too. It's very similar here. But speaking of failing, you were with ClickFunnels or something, right? For a while, weren't you failing and with some funnels, and then fixing other people's failed funnels and other people's failed businesses, and something like 400 funnels or something that you've helped to create over the time?
Yeah, I think it's closer to 800 now. But I was, I think, employee 12 over there at ClickFunnels, and loved it. Sat right next to Russell. I was this personal funnel builder, and it's funny to be in the room when we were like, I think this ClickFunnels thing has taken off. We should stop doing all these other projects and just go grow this thing. And so we grew it to 60,000 users in like a year, and which is nuts. And then I always knew I would never stay there, and so did he. And so I left in 2017 and went and kept doing similar skills for just different businesses. Yeah. And then I later went back as the CMO of ClickFunnels for a brief period of time to just install processes. The capitalism banner is like the overall mission, and then the business underneath is kind of how we push it.
We talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when we go to events, and a lot of the newer ones don't have any clue about a workable funnel. So can you tell us, I'm just curious, the simplest form of a funnel? Like, what would you recommend for new sellers just to get started, just to understand without overcomplicating it?
I know I kind of said this, Kevin, when you were in the audience there last week, but I think the biggest issue people have with funnels is they don't really know what they are. And so it makes this impossible target. We call them sales funnels, not marketing funnels, for a very strong reason. Sales funnels, we know, I think people just need to realize, like, how do you measure when someone gets a sale? It's pretty easy. You collect cash. But when I used to have all these sales guys, I'm in my studio right now, on the other side of this wall, 12 full-time salespeople. The number one thing that I was asking for more of is phone calls. Like, I need more leads. And there's a big reason the sales department isn't the one going out and doing that. It's a completely different mentality. And so square one, the biggest reason people mess up funnels is they think it's a marketing function, and it's not at all. Marketing is what happens before page one of the funnel. The sales funnel is really just there as like a catcher's mitt. And so marketing's job is to present and get leads and get people to raise their hand and go, what? Tell me more. I'm interested. What to tell your product is that? And it's at that moment, personally, where I visualize that it's like the marketing department out on the internet is like, I got someone. We got someone who's interested. And the lead gets handed to the sales department on page 1 of the funnel. And that's where the handoff is. And so where people mess up, just the common pattern is that they're like, I built a funnel, therefore I should be done. And it's like, you just got started. And the sales funnel should have the same expectation as a salesperson. But something still has to do with the lead generation. And it's not really what funnels are meant for. And they obviously work together. But if you kind of separate it in your mind, it's a lot easier. The easiest way to think about a funnel is when I was a door-to-door sales guy, I actually was the funnel. I had a message and I had an offer, and I would get the leads by walking door to door. The marketing action was door to door. The funnel was me literally saying the message and dropping a pitch. And so like ClickFunnels did not invent funnels, all a funnel is an automated message and offer. And so you see these people who don't have a strong offer and wonder why their funnel doesn't work. It's like, well, that's square one. And then the second issue is they don't have a strong sales message. And then the third issue is they use the sales message in the marketing department, and they're totally different scripts. If I use a sales methodology in a marketing seat, it comes off as pushy. And that's where you hear people say, I don't want to be annoying. I'm like, then don't be. But you're identifying the square issue, which is that marketing is a different kind of messaging than sales message writing. And people will take sales intended scripts and use them on Facebook. And it's like, well, that's why the conversions are low. That's why you have no traffic. That's a totally different type of copy.
I've heard you say there's no such thing as internet marketing. There's marketing, and then there's the internet. Can you explain that?
Yeah. I don't know how much backstory one of those. Like 5 years ago, I got really obsessed with these rich dead marketers, like from the 1800s, like Barnum and Claude Hopkins and Albert Lasker. And a lot of these guys, I mean, I'm a nerd, so I went really deep in P.T. Barnum's life, studied all of his campaigns. I mean, went really deep into his life, wrote a book on it, which will come out soon. I'm excited about it. But it's one of the biggest things I realized is that, there's no such thing as internet marketing. There's marketing. And funny enough, these dudes from the 1800s probably understood marketing more than we do because they had much less distribution. Well, now we got all this distribution. P.T. Barnum was crap his pants if he sees Instagram. Like we can, or what we're doing right now. It's like there's so much distribution, and it's so easy to reach people at volume that the marketing skill, I think, kind of went down. And so there's marketing, and the internet is just a distribution method of that marketing. And if you study the two separately, the game gets a lot easier. Otherwise, we start like, oh, what time I post on Facebook? That's the secret key. It's like, not really. It's like, what is your marketing message? And then it doesn't really matter what channel you use, like when Clubhouse was a thing for like a hot second, People were like, should I be on Clubhouse? And I'm like, wrong question. It should be, are my customers using Clubhouse? And if so, it's a channel I can meet them on, and all these, they're just channels. There's distribution methods. Email's a channel. Facebook's a channel. Door to door is a channel. And when you look at it in that way, the game gets a lot easier to master, and you don't get so jarred by the next new platform that comes out, because you're like, it's just another distribution method for the same. So what we'll do in our company is we come up with the marketing story, that's not the sales story. It's not the origin story. No one cares about the origin story until they've already raised their hand. We come up with the marketing story, and once we know it works, we'll just use all the channels we know our customers are on. So if someone's like, oh, I don't want to make Facebook video or YouTube videos, I'm like, all right, are your people on it? Gets 2 billion searches a month, and they're like, yeah, my people are on it. And I'm like, then maybe you're just not the marketer, and that's okay. Be the entrepreneur, totally different role, So I think that the true study of marketing actually doesn't involve the internet almost at all. And 80% should be on what marketing really is, and 20% needs to be on these methods. And then they're a lot easier to win on because it's just pushing the message.
Are you looking to quickly boost new Amazon product launches or scale up existing listings to reach first page positioning? The influencer platform Stack Influence can help.
That's right. Stack Influence pushes high volume external traffic sales straight to Amazon listings using micro influencers that you only have to pay with your products.
They've helped up-and-coming brands like Magic Spoon compete with Cheerios for top category positioning, while also helping Fortune 500 brands like Unilever launch their new products.
Right now is one of the best times to get started with Stack Influence. You can sign up at stackinfluence.com or click the link in this video down in the description or notes below and mention Misfits, that's MISFITS, to get 10% off your first campaign. stackinfluence.com. It's like I always like to say, human psychology really hasn't changed in several hundred years. And if you understand the principles of psychology, that's what marketing is. And it doesn't matter. You know, my background's in direct mail, and I was doing stuff before the internet, sending mailers out. Like back then, the funnel, they always said start with the order form first before you actually make the catalog or the brochure. The first thing you should design is the order form and work backwards from there. And, you put stuff on the order form and, upsells and automatically, buy the insurance. It's automatically pre-filled in. So you got to scratch it out and, all that kind of stuff. So it's that psychology. That book you mentioned, that's what Dramatic Illustrations is.
That's what it was going to be called. Russell and I were going to co-author it together, and then it was called this weird or dumb, but it's been such my baby. I was like, I'm going to go just do it on my own. So it's from what's actually from, which is called Offer Launch. And Russell was like, let's co-author a book on that. So we used his name, but then after a while I was like, oh, I'm going to take that back. So, yeah.
So I'm just curious. I'm not sure if this is the right book, but Kevin and I were talking and he said he heard something. He's mentioned this a few times on the podcast, by the way, but about your Red Ocean Blue Offer. Is that from that book?
That'll be a different one, but I'll definitely reference it in there.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I went to school and got a business and marketing and design degree, and it's so funny, the capstone, the final project of all of college. We had to write this 20-page business plan and present it in front of this actual board of investors, and I had colleagues that actually got vested that day, and so glad mine didn't. Otherwise, I'd be stuck doing it. But they always had this mentality that, like, how big's the market size? What's the competition like? Oh my gosh, there's competition. You better go away from this. Too much competition, and you hear this a lot. And
that book came out, Blue Ocean, whatever that, and everybody references it. Like it's on everybody's like, you must read list, top 10 business books you must read.
And it's a wonderful strategy. Red Ocean, Blue Ocean is a wonderful strategy. When you want to create a market. But what really happened for me, and the reason this came out, is when I was leaving my job as the lead funnel builder in ClickFunnels, I was like, I still want to do funnels, but I don't want to compete with ClickFunnels. I want to complement them. And so how can I position myself in the market but be unique? I don't want to leave the market. I want to stay in it. And so that's where this whole concept came from, which is I was like, what if it wasn't Red Ocean, Blue Ocean? What if it was Red Ocean, Blue Offer? And the reason is, when you go to the Blue Ocean, the reason it's blue is nobody's there. And your skill has to be really high when you're a market of one. That's not even a market yet. There has to be some other business for it to even be a market. And so, quick side story on this. It really illustrates. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
My first job was in an injection molding plastic factory. I worked a lot of labor jobs growing up. I was a tire buster, a discount tire, I dug sprinkler trenches by hand because my boss was too cheap to buy a trenching machine. So I really affiliate with the movie Holes as a documentary. I could dig a mean hole, you know. And I remember this one day I was working a construction job. We were building residential swimming pools, and I was like, I'm done with this. I was home between college semesters, and I was like, I'm going to go get rich and figure out how to do it. So I picked up this piece of broken tile on the ground, and I just walked out. And at that time, I was really into Kiyosaki, and I had just read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and which is probably the gateway drug for a lot of us. There's this radio ad that comes across the radio. Robert Kiyosaki is coming to a hotel near you to teach you stocks and options. And I was like, what? Let's go, you know? He's like, it's $200. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of holes, you know? And so I go over to this thing, and it's a three-day little seminar in a hotel. I didn't know I was in a funnel. And my dad was like, you're going to get scammed. And I was like, no, I'm not, Dad. I'll show you, you know, total chip on my shoulder. And I come back the first day just on fire. And I'm telling my dad all about it. And he's like, I'm going to come with you tomorrow, and I'm going to show you it's a scam. So he comes with me to the second day. And at first he was like super standoffish, but after a while I saw him like pull out a notebook on the side, and he's like taking notes and stuff. And so we go back home that day, and my mom was like, so was it a scam? And my dad was like, we spent $30,000 on a coaching program on stocks and options. And so we got really, really into stocks and options trading. A couple of years goes by. I go back to school, join the Army. I do all this stuff. And I talk to my dad, and I'm like, you still doing stocks and options trading? And he goes, yeah, but not on the New York Stock Exchange. I was like, why? We spent 30 grand. That's what we were trained on. And he goes, dude, I'm trading the Forex, the global market, not the national market. It's so much bigger. I was like, yeah, but why? And he said this line that literally influenced Red Ocean Blue Offer. He goes, I'm doing Forex because the pie is so much bigger. I've learned that I can afford to be less skilled, but I still take home more money. I was like, market size matters. Right? And I was like, what am I doing going after all these little tiny there's no money in it. When you go to a blue ocean, like those guys deserve to be billionaires. It is really intense. Statistically, it takes 10 years for you to really birth a market. Most companies don't have that vision for that amount of time either. So they shouldn't be trying to build a blue ocean. And instead, when you go straight into the center of a red ocean, you got Joe Schmo's business that's in there. It's trying to not die. So it's doing marketing and bringing people in. You got Susie Q's business, and she doesn't want to die. So she's doing marketing and bringing people in. You have this self-replenishing pond of new leads 24/7. And when I learned to be unique in the sea of red, it is the source of daily leads, easiest sales, shortest sales cycles because they've already bought from Joe Schmo and they've already overcome objections, really short success cycles, post-purchase. It's the grand secret positioning that I do for all my clients. It's the first thing I do with them is they usually have no market positioning. And so their average cost to acquire is through the roof. And they also have no clarity on the customer. And it's like just fixing those two things is usually what makes the rest of their company work. And so I'm like, let's go straight into the heart of the red, the biggest, fattest, exactly the opposite of what college taught, straight into the biggest, fattest red ocean that we possibly can. Screw the word niche. No one can define it anyway. And go for really big, really old, and where all the money actually is. And you can afford to be less skilled.
Well, that's because your competitors are almost like training your customers.
Yeah.
They're, what do you call it? Like, what is that in a wedding, a dress rehearsal or whatever for them. And you can just come in and snap them up.
That's funny. That's exactly what I tell them. I said, every person, there's really no such thing as a competitor when you may take that kind of market positioning, because every purchase from your competitor, quote unquote, is literally a dress rehearsal from buying from you. And they get educated off of the marketing dollar of your competitor. A classic example of that was when, it's so funny. I love my parents. My mom thought for years I was selling kitchen funnels. Like, I was like, she's like, what do you do? I don't know what you do. I was like, she's like, you're selling funnels. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm doing at all. I was like, Mom, I hate cooking. Like, I'm not that kind of guy. Like, no. And I was like, I don't want to learn to be good at cooking. But isn't that funny that the word funnel meant something different to her? And so it's not that I couldn't sell my mom funnels, but the education bridge I got to cross with her is huge. And that costs money and time. But when I use the word funnel inside of a specific market, they've already been educated. The easiest sales, funny enough, come from those who've already bought from your competitor. And you're just selling to the frustrated market. And they're the easiest to close.
Is Blue Offer your moat, or is that completely different?
No, yeah, the Blue Offer is what makes you unique in there, but you don't leave the market. It's funny when I'm at my studio right now, and I'll be on this stage and I'll be teaching the people here, and I'll be like, we're these entrepreneurs at heart. I got to tell you, we got to be honest. The entrepreneur is the broke role. Think about what happens. I go into the creative cave and I invent something that's never been seen before. Something that this is amazing, and we should, right? The creative genius in the cave making this cool thing that's amazing that no one's seen. But then, literally, just because it's new, we'll go do the equivalent of build a mall to have a place to sell it. And I'm like, if you can't convert the foot traffic at the mall that someone else already built, why on earth would you go through the hell of building your own mall? Like, I'm not saying red ocean, blue ocean is not a great strategy, but it's the one for billionaires when most business owners just want more money for retirement and for vacation time with the families and investments. And it's like, stay in the big fat red oceans and learn to be unique in it. And you actually end up solving all the problems that you have to solve anyway if you're going to build a blue, but you actually you're closer to the fountainhead of cash.
Hey, Norm, do you know any sellers out there that are just burned out doing this e-com game?
I know a lot of people that have talked to us, when we go to events. And it's not only that, they don't know where to start.
Who would you recommend they talk to?
The first one that comes to mind is Quiet Light Brokerage. And here's why. They're going to build you up. They're going to understand your company. And at the end of the day, you're going to know how to maximize your valuation. So the very first thing you need to do is go and get your free confidential valuation at quietlight.com. They're going to ask a couple of questions. You're going to meet up. It's one-on-one with somebody over there. And then, let the games begin.
Awesome. What was that website again?
It's quietlight.com.
Awesome. I'm going to head over there. So is it fair to say, if you take that approach of what you're saying, that it's not really a traffic issue, it's more of a, like you said with some of your clients, more of a messaging or positioning problem? Would that be fair to say?
100%. The formula for daily lead flow is positioning, hooks, and branding. And it's really hard. It's hard to brand if there's nothing to compare you to.
Can you give us a case where you've tweaked something to match those three things that you just talked about, which just made a killer difference?
Yeah. There's a company that I bought into a couple of years ago. This lady was she was the professor of genetics at the University of Florida, and she created this very interesting business where she took pharmacists, who have PhDs, and she taught them how to work directly with labs, testing labs, and not through insurance-backed doctors. And what we would do is we would take a cheek swab and send it directly to a lab, and they could tell based on your DNA what medications you're taking that you should be described from. Like we're very prescribe happy, in this country. But no one ever tells you when to stop taking it. And so the business was, let's teach these pharmacists who get stuck in Walgreens and they're just pill pushers, or CVS, or a hospital. And let's actually use what they studied, which is how to describe, whatever, people from their medications. And so she's like, can you come in and help blow this up? So I was like, first thing, you're going after the medical industry, which is already kind of spicy. So we got to be careful here. But to create positioning, what we did is I created a positioning where we ended up calling the whole medical industry general medicine. And we created a category called precision medicine. We didn't leave the red. We created a new thing inside of it called precision medicine. And so when people would be like, oh yeah, I went to my doctor, we're like, oh awesome, is he a general medicine practitioner or a precision medicine practitioner? And people were like, what? You mean I was precise on my DNA? We're like, yeah, have you not got a cheek swab before? Like, these things are free. And it works so well, like so well. So this precision medicine category that we created, like it also attracted the pharmacists who were like, yeah, this is what I went to go to school for, you know? And so we ended up creating this branding. They always wanted to get their white lab coat. So we call them the wealthy white coats. And they put on their white coat, and that was the equivalent of the Capitalist Pig branding. They're championing thing. Like, I'm a wealthy white coat, meaning I'm not going to get stuck in a pharmacy or a CVS kind of a thing. I'm working direct with labs, and what we taught them to do is to get their own book of business from the neighborhoods that they lived in, and then after that, it unfolded to other customized supplements and things like that. But yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. Is like. Branding is impossible. Strong branding is impossible when there's not an us versus them. And so it's like if you go in the cereal aisle in America, right, there's like the generic brand and then there's the brand name. And often those are owned by the same company, right?
Come off the same factory line.
Yes, literally. Yeah. They just package it differently. I mean, if you literally pull back the box and look at the ingredients, it is exactly the same product. And so I like to ask people, like, which one should I choose? And it's funny because you can start to hear their little I am statements coming out. Oh, well, I'm going to choose the one on the left. I'm going to choose the generic because it's cheaper. I'm like, oh, so you believe that thrift is good? Like, awesome. Who's going to choose the one on the right? It's literally twice the price. Like, oh, well, I worked hard this week and I made a big sale. So I'm going to, and it's funny that our little I am statements and what we believe about ourselves is reflective of the products we choose to purchase. But funny enough, the name brand product cannot exist in that kind of positioning without the generic to compare it to. And so when you go out and you create Red Ocean, Blue Ocean, or Red Ocean, Blue Offer rather, there has to be a comparative statement with what's inside of that red. You can't do that if it's a blue ocean. There's nothing to compare to. And so it's very hard. You have to, it's very challenging though. So the positioning piece is one of the strongest things you can. It's positioning plus hook plus brand. And you get those things lined in. It doesn't matter if you're using Facebook or YouTube or Instagram. Like all these are just methods of distribution, and you don't get traffic. You stand in front of it. And so, what are the channels that all of my people are already on? And you start dropping those hooks in the middle of those rivers that already exist. And daily leads is very easy.
Well, Norm's a big domain guy, and I heard you talk about where you get this positioning and stuff with some domains, and you had like you had one that's like areweroommates.com, and you had another one that's like notyourmamasbody.com. And so
you've really been going through my stuff. Okay,
that's your URL. Well, I have some notes here from your talk at IMP.
Okay, yeah.
But So and like, you gave like 10 examples of different ones where you actually start with the domain name. You figure out the positioning, you figure out the marketing. Who's going to say I am, like you said on the cereal aisle, and then you go after that domain name and then you build around that. So they're instantly, as they're typing that in or as they're seeing that, they're like, that's me, of course. Can you talk about that, or maybe even give one of those examples?
Yeah.
Of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole premise behind it is that like goes back to market messaging versus sales messaging and how they're totally different. Sales messaging is when you start telling your origin story. This is where my product came from. This is where I come from. This is the offer. That's sales messaging. Market messaging is a form of messaging that is the customer's story. They don't care about you yet, right? They just want to know they're understood. And so in the psychology of helping someone make a decision to buy, first you go and you talk about them. It's like, what's the story that you're experiencing right now? What's the problem that you're experiencing? And once you know that I know you, then they start raising their hand and saying, oh my gosh, you get me. Tell me more. Now they've asked, tell me about your thing. And now it's not weird when you start doing your sales stuff. So I call it the offer hook. And the offer hook is a very specific story that you're finding, which later gets expressed in a headline and later gets expressed in a ad Facebook ad, then later gets expressed in your organic YouTube content. We're just trying to identify the story that when someone hears it, it's almost like a little baby trigger. And they're like, oh my gosh, this person gets me. Tell me more. So I've ruffled a lot of marketers' feathers. If you can't tell, I'm a misfit. I'm so excited to be on here with you guys. I won't shut up about this stuff, but it's interesting. You have all these marketers, quote unquote, who are putting videos out where nobody ever watches that video and then says, tell me more. And I always like to challenge them and say, was that video you put out marketing then? And, people don't like it. When I help them realize the answer is no. Like, we can't claim that everything we're doing on the internet is marketing. I'm not saying there's no value in being present. There certainly is, and just showing up. But if you put out a piece of content and no one ever says, tell me more about your products, we can't call that marketing. Marketing is only measured in lead gen. It's only measured in hand raises. And some people don't like that, but I find it actually brings a lot of clarity and breathing room, because now you get really, now I know what I should be doing on the internet to get leads for my funnel. I need to get hand raises. And that really narrows and simplifies all this stuff that we feel like we should be doing as marketers. I'm just pulling up my internet marketing party speech here. Yeah, it's one of these hooks. Do the hook. This is a good one.
Yeah, you did one of the women in their 30s with unsatisfying marriages. You did post-pregnancy weight loss, Christian men seeking marriage, win-backs, osteoporosis. You did a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
I've done almost 100 of them now for clients.
The Claude Hopkins in the toothpaste industry is a good one too.
You're literally quoting my deck. Can you see my screen right now? Okay.
No, I got the notes.
You took great notes. Yeah. This is I already did a medical one, so we'll do a relationship one. And I try to choose ones that are in like health and relationships, because if people can see it in those industries, like, it's easy to do it in the make money space. All right, this one was this guy. I don't remember. This was a long time ago. This guy helps men get their life back. They're Christian men, and they're professionals, but their pressures they're under, they kind of cope with some bad habits, fill in the gaps and whatever that means, And so I asked them, I was like, what market are you trying to go towards? And thankfully he said the marriage market. I was like, good. It's big. It's red. Probably the oldest market. So anyway, this is the hook that I wrote. And when I read this, a lot of people go, I don't understand. You're going to put that entire thing on the headline of a page? And the answer is no. What I'm trying to do first is just identify the story that causes an emotional reaction that gets somebody to say, tell me more. I think you're describing me. Then we go through the work of actually writing into a headline and writing into sales copy for a page. So all this is the story that causes emotional hand raising. All right, so here's the hook. And you want to imagine that the dream customer is going to run into this in the channels they're already on and feel so understood that they're like, oh my gosh, I got to go see what this is. You've enjoyed life as a Christian man, a father, a leader in your career, yet the marriage has fell off for a few years now. To cope with the discomfort, you've taken on a few bad and secret habits that you're not proud of. She's noticed and removed herself from you, this time by physically moving out, and you don't know when or if she's coming back. What steps could you take to feel like a man you can be proud of and win her back? And we got winbackyourwife.com. and you notice that what most entrepreneurs do when they get in the marketing seat is they make the hook be about their offer. Come into this thing and you're going to get the 3 steps on this one. And that's not what we're doing at all. It's too early to talk about your offer. It's too early to talk about your origin story. What the story is about is the customer. It's the customer's story. One of my favorite books is Play Bigger. I don't remember if this is a quote or just a sentiment that I got from it, but it teaches in that book that when you can describe the customer's problem better than they can themselves, it is immediately assumed that you have the best solution. And And so you have all these entrepreneurs championing solutions. And that's just a game of noise. It's like, who can be the loudest? And you absolutely get annoying like that. Solution. I got the best thing. And you're just championing it. Right. And that's the focal point of your marketing. And it's annoying. But if you can do the exact opposite and make your marketing be championing problems instead of solutions, you immediately outposition everybody else. Immediately the customer feels understood. Immediately they assume that you know them and therefore you have the solution for them. And so these offer hooks are customer-based stories in the middle of their near triggering pain. And we want to write them in a way, like when I read them, a lot of people are like, can we say that? Oh my gosh, like, holy, like going for the jugular here, right? That is intense. But we want to write it in a way that
alienates some people, right? It alienates the audience that's on it, it alienates them. Those are the ones that going, can you say that? Or whatever.
It's actually 100% meant to. Like, good marketing is a magnet and a filter. And what most people mess up with when they write these hooks is they just have a magnet. And so they start, we got to be honest about the fact that there's such thing as a dream customer, there's such thing as a hell customer, right? And someone who should not have bought from you. And so when you want that push-pull language, and these stories do that, where it's like, if someone can't relate with the offer hook I just read, they bounce. It's like, it's good. That's good that they bounced. It also will attract more people because of it. And your opt rates shoot through the roof.
Hey, Kevin King and Norm Farrar here. If you've been enjoying this episode of Marketing Misfits, thanks for listening this far. Continue listening. We got some more valuable stuff coming up. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast player, or if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, make sure you subscribe to our channel because you don't want to miss a single episode of the Marketing Misfits. Have you subscribed yet, Norm?
Well, this is an old guy alert. Should I subscribe to my own podcast?
Yeah, but what if you forget to show up one time and it's just me on here? You're not going to know what I say.
I'll buy you a beard and you can sit in my chair too. And you can go back and forth with one another. Yikes! But that being said, don't forget to subscribe, share it. Oh, and if you really like this content, somewhere up there's a banner. Click on it and you'll go to another episode of the Marketing Misfits.
Make sure you don't miss a single episode because you don't want to be like Norm.
Oh.
Now, on your hooks, I remember you said in that same talk you have a 5-step process for a hook formula. It's like a 5. Can you walk us through those 5 steps?
Yeah. I should just play that speech. I'm glad that you loved it so much. It's part of a 3-day event that I do, so I really struggled to put it into 30 minutes. I was like,
that was really good.
I was like, give me some more time, dude. So the 5 parts that make up the offer hook formula, and I started recognizing that I was doing this after I've been writing hooks for clients for like 2 years, and I was like, I'm not. What is this? I'm not writing sales material. And half the reason this came up is because I could not get anyone to give me a good definition of a hook. Everyone's like, the hook is the thing that grabs attention, and that's like as far as you get when you ask what a hook is. And I was like, that's a crappy hook definition. I could slap you in the face, I'll get your attention, but you're not going to say, tell me more. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
do it again.
Just say it.
That's what Norm does to me when he comes. He's like, do it again.
I told someone, I was like, I could kick you in the balls and I'm going to have your attention, but you're not, it's the wrong kind of attention. So it's not a good, our industry, funny enough, has a really tough time with what a hook actually is. We know we need them, but it's like, anyway, so that's where this also came from. All right, so the first thing that we do when we're writing one of these hook formulas, it's usually a 2-hour exercise, but if you can nail the hook, the funnel's easy because it themes the entire funnel. So we go in and we say, number one, we need to describe the dream customer, right?
Like call them out, basically.
Yeah, while also at the same time saying in a storyline that if that person can't identify with the story, they're like, this is not for me, and they leave. So you're bouncing in that first sentence,
like a call and filter, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The second part of it, I call the dream customer buying experience. So what I do there is I describe what I want them to already have purchased to be considered a dream customer. So I was like, oh, you've gone off and you've tried these other, maybe I'll read another one, I know, after I kind of go through this. But I want to call out what they've already been attempting to try to have success. Because I'm trying to.
It was like if someone was hiring your agency, it'd be like, you've already talked to this other agency and gone through this, and this, and they gave you their weakest person. They just didn't perform, and you're always begging them for reports and never got something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly. You want to call, and the reason that that's part of it matters so much is that you're basically filtering out freeloaders. If they've never opened up their wallet, if they've never been educated off the back of someone else's dollar, if they've never, all that does is put more intensity on your fulfillment post-purchase. So I want to upgrade the quality of the customer I'm trying to serve with that. The third part, I call it the infinite story trap. The place people will mess hooks up on is they write hooks around problems that their customer has become numb to. And if they're numb to it, then they don't care. And so I first want to identify the story that they're stuck in.
What would be an example of that, of like being numb to?
Yeah, like the weight loss industry. If someone's like, I'm overweight and I'm overweight and 2 a.m., it's like, well, your weight loss product is probably not going to be exciting then. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I first identify the story trap. I call it the infinite story trap.
It's a story trap in their head.
Yeah,
it's what they're telling themselves in their head. Okay, I got you now. Okay,
I'm just infinitely in this thing. But the fourth part matters just as much, which I call it the emotional hammer drop. Something has to drop the hammer. What's the thing that the straw that breaks the camel's back? Hey, you've taken up some bad habits in your life, and your wife has noticed. Okay, story trap. However, this time she moved out. Hammer drops. Okay, I've got to do something about this. All right. So it's usually some emotional or dramatic thing that has happened to them that makes them say, it's time for change. Let's get serious. You got a product, I'm ready to buy it. Yeah. And then the fifth one, I call it a change-based question. And so questions hijack the brain. And so just like in sales, I always want to end with a question, not just a statement. I'll do the same thing in marketing. I want to end with a question that opens an opportunity for them. So what could you do in the next 90 days to get X results while still having ABC in your life? All right. Some kind of time-stamped, change-based question. What could you do? And then the answer is the .com. Win back your wife. The answer is, so the hook is not just a headline. We express it in the headline. We express it in the .com. It's expressed in the same sentiment of the story is expressed in the ad. If I'm getting, if I'm making podcasts or YouTube content, I'm still saying that same storyline in different variations and ways, so that I'm always subtly pulling people to say, tell me more, and pushing away those who are not a fit for the company. Should I give one more example here?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Maybe I stop at each point just for people listening, so they after each sentence, they say that was the the hammer drop. That was just to illustrate the point.
Yeah, that sounds good. This is for a client of mine that I had 2 years ago. This is the Osteoporosis one. He's the marketing firm that OsteoStrong uses, or like half of their 170 locations in the US uses. This hook was so strong that his competitor heard it and just asked to be acquired. They're like, we don't want to compete. Wow. So his company doubled in like 3 months because his competitor was like, I don't even want to compete with that. And anyway. So he was at a convention debuting it, and his competitor was like, no, let's just be together. So, so he helps women in America who get diagnosed with osteoporosis. And in America, you can only give bone medication to a woman for 2 years because that's how long it's medically safe. And most of the time, a woman's bones are weaker because it actually removes minerals from the bones. Don't know why that is that way in America. Chalk it up to whatever. But and so what their company does is at the end of that 2 years, when a woman finds out her bones are still weak, they swoop in and say, here's the actual way to make your bones stronger. So that was the hook. And he's like, we need more clients. We need more people walking into our facilities, more women who have this scenario. So like, okay, so here's the hook. And so first thing I got to do is call out the dream customer. The doctor wants to meet again to share a few options. After your latest bone density scan showed that your bones actually got weaker. So already in the first sentence is the hardest one to write. I'm calling out the dream customer and I'm pushing away the person who isn't. So if a woman has just gotten diagnosed with osteoporosis and she hasn't done 2 years, she's already not a fit for this. Mm-hmm. The doctor wants to meet again to share a few options that your latest bone density scan showed that your bones actually got weaker. But why? For months so here's the this is the call out. Trying to read on. Okay, this is the current offer frustrations. This is calling out the dream customer's current buying experience. This next line. But why? For months you've gone along with the doctor's orders, taking harder pronounced medications, going on more walks, increasing calcium. So that's what they're already trying, doing, and buying. So the story continues. Now we have to do the infinite story trap. Back again with a doctor, you're told that things would have been worse if you hadn't been following their prescription. But the advice that you're given is to just keep doing what you are. It's a trap. No options. Okay, now we have to make the floor fall out. We have to do an emotional hammer drop. As you get back in your car, you notice the biggest fear you have is painfully getting your bones so weak that you end up in permanent assisted living, unable to move or really live again. So now we have to go into, I do 2 sets of change-based questions. Will slowly deteriorating represent the rest of your life and what you're remembered for? So here's the change-based question for real. What simple but hidden unorthodox path could you take in the next 12 months to keep all of those medications from slowly poisoning your bones to death and restoring the longevity you once had and were known for? And we got bonepoisoning.com.
Oh.
Dude, this
awesome.
slayed. This was awesome. So freaking good. Oh. These guys, I don't know what they've done with the domain since, but 55% opt-in on a free thing that led to a phone call for them to sell them and come into their practices. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Bone poisoning. He was really scared to put it out. He's like, that's like really intense. And I was like, yeah, but it's also intense what they're going through. So meet them where they are and write an intense hook and tell the hardcore story. And they've attracted just tons of women who are like, yeah, I feel like and what the funnel was, I haven't looked at it for like 2 years, so I can't talk to that. But what the funnel was you went to bonepoisoning.com and it said, hey, put your name and email in here. What we're going to do is we're actually going to give you a PDF download of all the real side effects from the popular bone medications in America that are medically backed, but probably not explained to you when you were prescribed those medications. For example, did you know your jaw can detach? Go ahead and put your name and email in, and we'll send you this PDF. And so they grab the PDF and these are, we were making this stuff as like, these are the real of the top 10 bone medications in America for osteoporosis. And then on the next page is like, do you want to hop on a call? It's just getting phone calls.
So if your stuff is good, don't be afraid to poke the bear.
Yep. Rock the boat.
Yeah. Rock. And a lot of people are afraid to do that. Norm and I also have an agency that does email marketing for e-com sellers, and people are like, it just amazes how many people are sitting on these lists and are just afraid to email them or bother them, more than once a month or something like that.
I don't want to be annoying.
They might unsubscribe or be annoying. It baffles our mind. Like, dude, you're leaving so much money on the table.
Or people are going to unsubscribe.
Yeah. Yeah. And you are being annoying if you're using sales messaging in your email channel. But if you use market messaging, you'll find that people actually thank you while they're buying from you because they feel understood.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Hey, we are already at the top of the hour. And unfortunately, we've got to move on. But this was so great, Steve.
This was awesome, man.
Thanks, guys.
We never even got into your marriage, which was another great marketing technique. We'll wait for that one. Yeah, that'll be awesome. Hey, look, we always have one question we ask our misfits. And do you know a misfit?
Oh, yeah. Yep. As soon as you asked, Domingo Salvas. That guy's a misfit.
All right. Well, I can't tell us a little bit about Domingo.
This guy goes into companies and grows them so quickly. They usually give him equity, and then he flips them. He had an $80 million exit. He has a massive AI agency that builds AI tools for companies, custom. He's amazing.
Oh, fantastic.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'd love to get an introduction. We'll reach out, or Mary will reach out and we'll get an introduction to him. That would be awesome. So if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to you said you have an agency, and you tell us what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to learn more or work with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Probably the best place right now is launchforprofit.com. We just teach people the very principles I was going through right here, and then help people apply them. With everything that's going on right now, that's probably the best place. If not, then stevejlarson.com.
Fantastic. Awesome. All right, Steve. Well, thanks for, there goes my Coke Zero. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Thanks guys so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's good stuff. I like it when the guests come on and they give like examples, like, walk through. So people listening or watching this can actually, when they take something away, it's always good to have guests that have cool stories and that are interesting. But you know how you listen to some podcasts and it's more like theory, or it's more like general things, or it's more about just about them and not about things that you can actually do and take away. And that's one of the things that I've always liked when I've heard Steve talk, is he's always about just delivering value and just sharing his experiences and his knowledge, and saying it in a way that most people can understand, not a lot of jargon or whatever. And I think this is going to be a very popular episode. And
just exactly what was on my mind, Kevin.
And if you want to hear the other half, and some would say probably the better half, you want to go make sure you listen to Marley Jack's episode of Marketing Misfits. I'm not sure what number that one will be, but make sure you go into where do they do that? How would they find that, Norm?
They would go to YouTube and just type in Marketing Misfits podcast, and that's where you can hear about the wedding. By the way,
that's right, and that one. And then you can find us on the Talk Tickers, or what's that thing?
Yeah, you can go to the Talk Tickers, or whatever they're going to call it soon. But TikTok, we've got a channel there. It's just Marketing Misfits. We launched it about 4 months ago, and it's doing really well. So check that out. I
saw one of the clips had like 200,000 views or something like that.
I don't know. There's some there that have a ton. So check it out. We always like the extra view. But the other thing is, and this is really important, we have another YouTube channel that only does 3 minutes and under clips. So the long form is always great. A lot of times you might not have time, but you can always check that out. And those are the nuggets that we dig out of every episode. And it's a great channel. So it's upgraded, and new published videos are up there every day.
And also we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcast, all those cool places where you want to listen. Or you can always go to marketingmisfits.co if you get confused. Like, where do I go? Just go to marketingmisfits.co. It's not .com, it's .co.
And after this podcast, by the way, I'm buying areyouamisfit.com.
We should. I mean,
I will. I'm serious.
We should get out. That's actually, I know you will, because you have like 20,000 domains already. So, I mean, what's one more? What's one more? What's one more? Hey, speaking of one more, we'll see you guys again next week for one more episode of the Marketing Misfits. Another brand new episode every Tuesday. Thanks again for joining us today, and I'll see you soon too, Norm.
All right. We'll see you later, Kev.
Take care.
See you, everybody.